Students, this is the fourth part of the video of this chapter, Nelson Mandela Long Walk to Freedom. Now, in life, every man has twin obligations. Okay, now here on this part, Nelson Mandela, he is sharing one of the aspect of his experience. Okay, now here he is telling us about the two obligations, two responsibilities. Okay, now in life every man has twin obligation. He is saying that in the life of every man, okay, they have two types of obligations, okay, responsibilities. One is to fulfill all the responsibilities they have towards their family. It is a type of personal responsibility, you can say. Okay, obligations to his family, to his parents, to his wife and children. Okay, it is the responsibility the man he has to fulfill to his family, to his parents and to his wife and children. Okay, and another responsibility, another obligation is to fulfill all the responsibilities to his people, his community and his country. In a civil and human society, each man is able to fulfill those obligations according to his own inclination and abilities. Okay, and now here he is saying that yes, each and every man, okay, and they fulfill both these type of responsibilities according to their circumstances and according to their abilities. Okay, now here he is telling us about his obligations, the obligations, how they fulfill the responsibilities, how these dark people they fulfill their responsibilities, obligations. Okay, and how they had to face many obstacles when they wanted to fulfill this type of obligation. Okay, now but in a country like South Africa, it was almost impossible for a man of my birth and color to fulfill both of these obligations. And he is saying that in South Africa, when means the man, those who are like him, means those who were black, okay, they could not fill such time, means for them it was impossible to fulfill both of those obligations. And how, we'll see here. In South Africa, a man of color who attempted to live as a human being was punished and isolated. Now he was saying that if in South Africa, black people, if they wanted to fulfill those obligations, those responsibilities, then they were punished. Okay, and they were punished and they had to stay away from their family. In South Africa, a man who tried to fulfill his duty to his people was inevitably ripped from his family and his home and was forced to live a life apart. Now, if a person, okay, if a person wanted to fulfill his duty to his people, then he was forcefully removed from his family and his home, and he had to live a life apart from their family. Okay. A twilight existence of secrecy and rebellion. I did not, in the beginning, choose to place my people above my family, but in attempting to serve my people, I found that I was prevented from fulfilling my obligations as a son, a brother, a father, and a husband. Now, when they were physically tortured, okay, now what happened? They became rebellion. They started raising voice against this system. Okay, now Nelson Mandela, he had given priority to his family. Okay, now what happened when he started? When he wanted to serve his people, okay, countrymen, he found that he was prevented from fulfilling his obligations, all the responsibilities he had towards his family, towards his family members. Okay, whatever the responsibility he wanted to fulfill as a son, as a brother, as a father, or as a husband. Okay, now here he was not allowed to fulfill those responsibilities also. Okay, this is how they were tortured. It was only when I began to learn that my boyhood freedom was an illusion, when I discovered as a young man that my freedom had already been taken from me, that I began to hunger for it. At first, as a student, I wanted freedom only for myself, the transitory freedoms of being able to stay out at night, read what I pleased, and go where I chose. Later, as a young man in Johannesburg, I yearned for the basic and honorable freedoms of achieving my potential, of earning my keep, of marrying and having a family, the freedom not to be obstructed in a lawful life. Okay, now when he became younger, okay, he came to know that his all the freedom which he had during his childhood, it was just an illusion. Okay, and then he discovered that all his freedom was already curtailed. Okay, and this was the time when he yearned for freedom. Okay, he want, and as a young as a student, okay, he wanted freedom for himself. He wanted freedom to read whatever he wanted to read. Okay, but later, now in Johannesburg, when he was a young man, okay, he desired for the basic and honorable freedoms. And what were the basic and honorable freedoms? Those were the freedoms of achieving his potential, okay, of earning his keep, of marrying and having a family. And these type of basic and honorable freedoms, okay, these were not to be obstructed in a lawful life and should not be obstructed. Means all the people, they should have all this basic kind of freedom in their life. Okay, what this all these things Nelson Mandela he wanted to say, but these all these basic freedoms were also not be given to this black people. Okay, then I slowly saw that not only was I not free, but my brothers and sisters were not free. I saw that it was not just my freedom that was curtailed, but the freedom of everyone who looked like I did. That is when I joined the African National Congress, and that is when the hunger for my own freedom became the greater hunger for the freedom of my people. Okay, now here he is saying that after this Johannesburg, when he saw all these things, okay, all these things, okay, he means he observed that it was not only he wanted freedom, okay, and it was not his freedom was curtailed, but it happened with all the brothers, all the people, those who were like him. Okay, and this was the time when he joined a national African National Congress, and then he started he started fighting for the freedom, not for himself but for his countrymen, for his people. It was this desire for the freedom of my people to live their lives with dignity and self respect that animated my life. Okay, and when he desired to live a free life, okay, and the result was that his own life was totally changed, his life was totally transformed. Okay, that transformed a frightened young man into a bold one, that drove a law abiding attorney to become a criminal, that turned a family loving husband into a man without a home, that forced a life loving man to live like a monk. Okay, now here what happened, it transformed his life. Okay, from a timid man he became a bold one, and from a law abiding person he became a law abiding citizen, he became a criminal. Okay, and from a family loving husband he became a monk, homeless person, sorry, homeless person, and life loving man, from a life loving man he became a monk. Okay, I am no more virtuous or self sacrificing than the next man, but I found that I could not even enjoy the poor and limited freedoms I was allowed when I knew my people were not free. Freedom is indivisible. The chains on any one of my people were the chains on all of them. The chains on all of my people were the chains on me. Okay, the foundation on any one of his people were the foundation on all of them, and the foundation on his people were the foundation on him. It means Nelson Mandela wanted total freedom here. I knew that the oppressor must be liberated just as surely as the oppressed. Now here Nelson Mandela he was saying that oppressor and oppressed, these two persons, both these persons, were needed to be liberated. A man who takes away another man's freedom is a prisoner of hatred. And now here Nelson Mandela is saying that if another person he is taking any other's freedom, it means he is also a prisoner of a hatred, prisoner of hatred. Okay, he is locked behind the bars of prejudice and narrow mindedness, and because he was in the grip of, he was in the he this person, that oppressor, he was behind the bars of prejudice and narrow mindedness. Okay, he was also not free. Okay, and he should be liberated from this type of narrow mindedness. I am not truly free if I am taking away someone else's freedom, and in a true sense, he was also not a free person if he was taking someone else's freedom. Just as surely as I am not free when my freedom is taken from me, and it is not means just is like that, as he was not free when his freedom is taken from him. The oppressed and the oppressor alike are robbed of their humanity. Here Nelson Mandela, he wanted to say that oppressed and the oppressor, these both persons, they must be liberated, because both these person alike are robbed of their humanity. Why? Because the oppressor, he was given physical torture, and the oppressed, he was in the grip of hatred. That's why these two peoples needed to be freed, needed to be liberated. Okay, that's it.